pizza delivery people, what is your worst delivery story? Story 1. This sounds like a good place to share this experience. So I live in a small town, pretty innocent here. I was on a regular delivery to what was a fairly normal part of the housing in town. As I was arriving, I noticed a man on the sidewalk hunched over, and I thought to myself, man, he's drunk already and it's just past 4. Just a few houses down from there I parked and made my way to the address. As I was walking up, a few cop cars flew by me towards that man, and I proceeded to knock while still looking at the cars. When I turned my head, oh so slowly, there was a smear of blood. I scanned the door, and farther down there was blood everywhere, pooling down the steps and making a trail to that hunched-over man. Immediately after, women in an SUV speeds by yelling, "Get thee out of there," so I dropped the bag and just booked it down the street. Later on, after talking to those officers, more arriving too, turns out the dude had knocked on the door not even moments before I arrived, and the man who answered just stabbed him and ran. That ruined my day for sure. TLDR arrived to a stabbing scene moments after it happened, almost becoming the victim. Story 2. Hopefully this will be my time to shine. Used to work at Pizza Hut on a military base, so tips were good. Was invited all the time to have a drink with soldiers. Get hit on by slutty army wives. But generally chat and make good money. One night I was on a roll, about $5-10 tips in 3 hours, and it was near the end of the night, so was me and just one driver, had the final delivery, so drove off to this housing, which ironically was on the other side of a fence of the ghettos of the town right off base. Go up to the house. It's like 1 a.m. Dude seemingly drunk invites me in. I've played this game, be kind, be nice, make 5 and bounce. Lady luck left me this time. Dude started talking about how his wife had been cheating on him whole time he was gone, was seemingly distraught. I try to console him. He signs his credit card receipt and I was about to walk off, then it happened. He asked me if I believe in God. I'm agnostic, so said no, not really. He said that God was a joke and that we better hope he does exist and likes us. Why? Turn around to see the dude has a revolver and pulled the trigger with the barrel at his head, then points it at me. Click. Dude was playing Russian roulette with our lives. Broke the screen door hauling and called the MPS as I drove off. Never did find out if he succeeded in killing himself. Edit. Stupid phone typo. Edit 2. When you spell roulette wrong you get a lot of heat. And wasn't expecting so many responses. I'm trying to answer any questions directed to me. Upvotes for you all. Story 3. Driving to delivery address. Clipped the curb on AS Bend. Flipped the car. The giant phone on the roof stopped it from rolling. Fireman ate all the pizza. Edit him from Aussie. It's spelt curb here, especially in engineering circles. Look it up. Story 4. I only delivered pizza for a month of my life in a small town in Canada. My worst story would have to be getting pranked one evening. I was asked to enter the customer's backyard, and then asked to enter his detached garage. I obliged, despite having been told by my overprotective mother never to do something like that. I figured I wasn't in any danger as I would stay right next to the screen door. After entering, a shirtless muscle man I didn't see came in and closed the larger door, which in mine trapped me inside. So I'm standing there with pizza surrounded by 3 men in a garage, and all 3 appear to be high, and there is a large pile of weed on the table to my left. Suddenly, one of the men makes a comment about losing a bet, and proceeds to throw poppers, those tiny explosives, at the muzzle guy's face and chest. I try to smile the whole time and be polite, mostly to not give them the satisfaction of seeing me pretty freaked out. They were filming me the whole time, and turned out to be YouTubers. Here's the video. Worst part is they didn't tip all after this. Story 5. This isn't necessarily the worst, but it is the most interesting. It was almost like a scene from an 80s college movie. The food part was normal, just a couple of larges. I roll up to the house to which a party is happening inside, and there is a guy passed out and duct taped from ankle to chest to a lawn chair in the front yard. I ring the doorbell and this 17 to 19-year-old answers. He completely forgot they ordered pizza and tells me to get the money from the guy in the lawn chair. So I go up to the guy and I can't wake him up, so I go back to the guy in the house, who then, with a frustrated attitude, grabs a flute and blasts it in the lawn chair guy's ear. After some mumbling, the flute guy goes back inside and the lawn chair guy grabs money from his pocket with his one free hand and hands me a wad of bills covered in what I really hope is wet silly putty and says, "Keep the change." I didn't count it then because I wanted to GTFO. When I counted it back at the restaurant, I ended up getting a 43 tip on a 31 bill. Worth it. TLDR guy duct tapped to a lawn chair gets woken up by a flute and hands me wet and slimy money. Story 6. Had the job for a week, but still got a gun pulled on me, sort of. Went out to a house and this guy opens the door and invites me in. He goes to get the money and I am standing around waiting when he comes back with a pistol and points it at me. I have no clue what to do and I can't remember what I said, if anything, but his face became very worried. Apparently he just got the gun and was very proud of it. He just wanted to show it to me. He put it away, paid me and gave me a poor tip. I got back in my car and was shaking. My parents didn't believe that story either when I told it to them later that night. Story 7. I'm no pizza delivery driver, but I used to deliver Chinese food for a takeaway in a pretty rough neighborhood. One delivery was to a block of flats. As I pulled up, I spotted a guy sat on the steps leading to the entrance. He was pawing feverishly at his crotch. Weird, I thought, as I got out and grabbed the food box. As I got closer, I saw that he had pulled his pants down round his thighs. Great, I think, another drunk weirdo. Then, as I'm slowly walking closer, he pulls out a spoon and a lighter, dumps something into the spoon and holds the flame under the spoon. I'm trying not to stare as he pulls out a syringe and loads it. I'm stood at the door waiting to be buzzed in. and see this guy out of the corner of my eye lift up his, and stick the needle into his, completely oblivious to my presence. I'm buzzed in, deliver the food, and on my way out I see the guy stood in the street shouting at a bush, "What the TLDR smack, not even once." I have a couple, but I'll tell you of the time I set the firehouse on fire. The pizza shop I delivered for sold a 36-inch party pizza. The thing was massive, incredibly hard to get out of the oven, and the toppings would slide everywhere upon delivery. Anywho, one afternoon we get an order in from the local fire station for one of our party pizzas. Awesome. Sounds like a good tipping delivery. I carry the giant pizza in through the firehouse and to their lunchroom kitchen. I look around to set the pizza down, but alas, there is no room. Empty pizza boxes are everywhere. One fireman who saw my predicament bustled over to clear room for the new pizza. Setting the empty boxes in a pile on the stove, I begin to count out change for a 50 when a burning smell begins to fill the room. Then the smoke came, then the flames. Apparently someone had just used the stove and the burners were still hot enough to light 20 greasy pizza boxes on fire. We probably watched the fire for upwards of 30 seconds before someone piped up, "Guys, do we have an extinguisher in the kitchen?" They ran out to find one. The whole building was ringing. People were running to the truck to get ready to go out on a call. It was pandemonium for about 2 minutes. The fire gets put out. They tell me to keep the change from the 50 and they ask me not to write about this for our local newspaper. Story 8. Not me, but a buddy went on this delivery. After ringing the doorbell a few times they finally answered and invited him in. They led him into the living room where a movie was playing on the wall by way of projection. They went into the next room to grab the cash. As they did, my friend looked over towards the movie playing and realized it was. After further investigation he realized the 2 people in the movie were his customers. They came back and tried to rope him into a threesome. Story 9. Thanks for this post. I haven't thought of this night in 15 years. I worked for a small-time mom-pop pizzeria. On weekends their 26-year-old son would run the shop. He spent a lot of Saturdays working while quite drunk and would mess with customers on the phone. One night he sent me on a run to a woman he had been chatting up after taking her order. He told me to take my time. The woman was obviously drunk and wanted more than just a pizza. I stopped on the way to get condoms and then hurried over to her house. I swear, I was smiling all the way to the front door, looking forward to getting a piece of strange tale. It never occurred to me to wonder why a single woman would order an extra-large deep dish with a 2-liter and breadsticks. I quit smiling a nanosecond after the door opened. 400 pounds of horny, drunken, white trash woman was standing at the door and I near myself. My boss was laughing his off when I got back about 4 minutes later. She had called and complained about the service. Story 10. More sad than anything. I delivered to a house on a Thursday night, and the girl who answered was probably about 19 or 20. She was also completely drug-fucked. She looked like she hadn't showered for about a year, smelt like it too. Her eyes were really sunken and baggy like she hadn't slept in a week. Her skin looked greasy from sweat, and she had track marks on her arm. She was just a whole big ball of unattractiveness because she was so stoned. The next night, I got another delivery to the same house. The same girl answered, but this time she wasn't stoned. She'd had a shower, I'm guessing a decent night's sleep, and she'd put on a little bit of makeup, just the typical everyday amount for girls. She was gorgeous, one of the best-looking women I've ever seen. Try and imagine the difference between Keith Richard now and Keith Richard when he was young. Like that, but a female, and the difference was one day. It was very depressing to see how being hooked on drugs can do that to someone, especially that young. Story 11. Got offered A by a dude. 2, chubby woman offered to show me her for cashback. 3, arrived at a home to deliver a pizza and nobody is opening the door. I wait for about 2 minutes and am getting ready to leave. 2 cop cars pull up to the door and both policemen proceed to put on gloves and one goes to his trunk and pulls out a shotgun. One of them walks up to me and says there won't be any deliveries today. Story 12. I used to work at the CSC Customer Service Center for Pizza Hut in the Kansas City metropolitan area. I would take orders for the whole city when someone would call 6488888. Everything in the computer system was pulled up by telephone number. I received a sad call one day. The person had called in to make an order. There were notes everywhere. Only management thigh-ups could put in notes like this about that whatever their order was. It was 100 free and to notify the on-staff manager that you had placed the order. Further into the notes I read it was because it was the family of a delivery driver that had been murdered while delivering pizzas. Story 13. I was working for Pizza Hut and I got to a house right as a Domino's delivery driver got there. We waited together at the door for a while as the customer got her money. She ordered pizza from 2 places at the same time. It was very awkward. Story 14. I was a pizza delivery driver for all of 3 days. The guy that hired me apparently had no authority to hire people. He just wanted to get some help for the shop while the manager was out of town. When the manager returned he basically asked me who I was, what I was doing there, then fired me. Anyways, my first delivery was to a high school football game, 100 pizzas. I drove an Acura Integra at the time and it was filled to the gills with pizza as I made my way up there. Dropped off the pizzas, accepted payment, wished a good day, 0 tip, 100 pizzas and not even a nickel for a tip. Story 15. Not my own story, but a friend from high school told me this story. She was on a bachelorette party with a bunch of girls and got a stripper to come to their hotel suite at like 3 a.m. The pizza guy knocks on the door, they open the door and immediately the girls jump his bones. Little did they know, one of their friends had also ordered pizza for the group, did not tell anyone she ordered the pizza, and was in the bathroom puking when the pizza guy arrived. TLDR lucky pizza guy. Story 16. I delivered pizzas for way too long, but the money is good and it's a pretty chill job, so why not? This was my worst experience because it was the scariest. I get to a houseman answers door, regular looking kinda guy, white middle-aged comb over. He asks me to come inside and put everything big, order lots of sides and drinks on the kitchen table. Sure, why think twice about it? I go inside and just as I get about 3 steps past him and the door, I hear it slam behind me, and he says in a ice in your spine kind of voice, "You aren't going anywhere." I freeze and feel like I am gonna throw up my adrenal gland. He is talking to his cat. He is totally nice and tips me like $8 and says stay safe out there. As I'm leaving, I got a block away and burst into tears. The next morning was the most beautiful of my whole life so far. Story 17. A few incidents spring to mind. The bastards that place their sprinklers in such a way that you can't get to the front door without getting wet, then leave them on when they order. Shitty people who dump an armful of coins on you unsorted and then get offended when you count it before leaving. The unwashed shanky woman who used her bra as a purse. Hang on, love, I've got the coins in here somewhere. Then warm coins hit your hand shutter. And finally, naked people. Honestly, it takes 20 minutes for a delivery. It's a small town, surely you can wait that long to fap. But then you also get attached to the nice regulars. I was sad when 1X family size deal delivered to a house later became 2 separate orders, 1X large deal to the house and 1X small deal to the local motel. Story 18. I used to work for Pizza Hut when I was in high school, and one day one of the delivery drivers didn't return from a delivery. After 30 minutes the manager tried calling him, with no response. He tried again about 15 minutes later and a police officer answered the phone to explain what had just happened. Apparently the driver showed up to deliver the pizza, and the guy that answered the door was drunk and violent and ended up throwing the pizza in the driver's face. I think he said the order was wrong or something. The driver had piping hot pizza sauce thrown in his eyes and then he fell down the stairs, breaking his arm. Gotta be that guy's worst delivery ever. Story 19. I was delivering for Domino's about a year ago and was sent to a shitty hotel room. I was the one who took the order, so when I get to the guy's door he's in nothing but a towel and says he's been waiting for me. I give him the pizza and he invites me in to get the money, so I go in. He starts telling me how sexy I am in the uniform and asking for me to come by later after my shift. I make it very clear I'm in a relationship, and as he hands me the money his towel falls off and I've got my hand on the money, and so does he, but he refuses to let it go. So as we're both standing there awkwardly with his rock hard junk hanging out, he asks me if I'm still in a relationship. I rudely tell him I am, the money away, and leave his room. In all honesty, he was a very good looking guy, around 20 or so, around the same age as me, and if I wasn't in a relationship I would have definitely took him up on his offer. Story 20. To save time. Story 21. Not a pizza delivery driver, but I did make deliveries for a toasted sub shop called Chiba Hut. Their whole deal is that everything about the place is based off of marijuana. Sub sizes were nug, pinner, and blunt. All the sandwiches were named after strands of weed. You get the idea. Since I worked there, everyone assumed that I was a gigantic pothead too. I'm actually just a guy that doesn't smoke and needed a part-time job to pay for school. I saw everything you can think of while making deliveries. People that didn't have any money for food but wanted to pay with weed. People that had money for food but wanted to tip me with weed. Story 22. Customer here. I ordered a New Yorker one time and they cut it into 12 slices. How am I supposed to fold this? Sorry, I just needed to share that with someone. Story 23. I posted earlier, but this is a good weird different story too. I had a deli everywhere. This dude had 2 dogs. It was hot out and I had both my windows open. Well, I went to go back to my car and both of his dogs had jumped into my car, and one was in the back seat and the other was in the front, both ready to go. I opened my door and they would not leave. I had to drag 2 fully grown big dogs out of my car. He told me that they wanted to go to the lake. To top it off, he tipped me pretty shitty and didn't even help me get the dogs out, and the dogs scratched my car. God, I'm so glad I don't do that job anymore. Story 24. I live in a very Dutch town and I've delivered pizzas for over 2 years now, and one thing you learn very fast is that Dutch people don't tip. If I get a 2 tip on a 30 order, that's really good. Another rule of thumb is that the richer you are, the less money you have to give as a tip. One specific instance was one night I had quite a few deliveries and was running behind a little bit as I was the only driver left for the night. I took one delivery to not only the richest neighborhood in town, but to the richest family in town. A huge mansion that doubles its size every year or two when the owner feels like adding on a few rooms, and probably 500,000 sitting in his driveway. Anyways, I'm on my way to this guy's house and I had delivered to him before, and he has never given me or any of my coworkers a cent as a tip, even though the order is always on time, always correct, and always hot. As expected, he writes a checkout for exact change and I head back to the store. I grab my next delivery, which is to a hotel. I love delivering to hotels because it's usually people from out of town, aka not Dutch, so we usually get better tips then. Well, I get to the guy's room and realize his order is wrong. After he opens the door, I apologize and fix it for him, meaning he has to wait another 10 to 15 minutes for his food, but he didn't seem to mind too much. After I bring him the correct order, I start talking to the guy for a bit, cause he was pretty cool and seemed like a very happy person. I found out, however, that he had just been fired from his job, lost his house, and was now living in the hotel day by day until he could find somewhere else to stay. Even with everything collapsing in front of him, this guy was still one of the friendliest guys I've ever met, chatted me up for a while, offered me a beer I declined because I was driving, and to top it all off he offered me a 10 tip, and even though getting that big of a tip would have made my night, I just couldn't take it telling him not to worry about giving me my tip. Now that I'm remembering this night, the next delivery I took was to an old lady living in a trailer park whose trailer looked like it had taken quite a beating, and she even offered me a big tip which I also couldn't take. Even though like many of you I dream of being really rich, but at the same time people like this make me dream that I never actually become rich. Just have enough to support myself and what I need. I've seen firsthand time and time again how easily money can corrupt the people that seek to have it all. Edit. I guess this doesn't qualify as my worst delivery story, but rather a delivery story I felt worth sharing. Story 25. Someone tried to steal my car while I was delivering one night. I ended up smashing the driver's side window to get to the guy. Also, why is it that guys are more comfortable opening the front door in their underwear than girls? I don't ever want to see a guy's junk swinging about that close to me. Story 26. Used to deliver Greek food and pizza. 1. We delivered to the local First Nations reserve about 10 minutes away. I try not to derive any prejudice from my experiences there, but it's tough because happens every time I go there, and it's a bit of a... The houses are numbered using two different but equally illogical numbering systems, interspersed at random, of labeled at all. Anyway, the saddest thing I ever encountered was a 15-ish-year-old girl in withdrawal from meth, who was constantly trying to grab at her father's and my money. The shame in his eyes is something I'll never forget. The strangest was when a lady ordered her food to the wrong house, meth girl's house, by accident. Not even a prank. Meth girl's family just sort of stared at me blankly when I showed up. They eventually clued in and directed me to a decrepit trailer on the other side of the reserve. 2. Walked into a full-on two-household domestic dispute. Basically the men from two families were out on the street about to tear each other apart. I dealt with a mother from one family who was trying to console her terrified toddler, offered to call the cops, she declined, paid me a nice tip, and I was on my way. 3. Minor annoyance, but people who have no numbers, impossible to find numbers on their house, drive me up the wall. I can only imagine how the postal service and EMS folks feel about it. Story 27. I live in a small town where everyone knows each other, so my cousin and his friends, more than 20 guys, rent a place so they can meet there. It has a bar, some TVs, music. It's pretty common here anyway. Well, the thing is that they sometimes order pizza and know that this guy is going to come, and they always prepare a weird prank for him. Some are stupid, like waiting for him in the dark, or make a party begin as he is a star when he comes in. But the best one was when he came in and everybody was naked watching like it was something they would normally do. Story 28. Working near the Great Lakes in the Northeast. We got a lot of snow. One night while delivering in a near whiteout, always the busiest nights, I drove into a declined driveway, into 2 feet of snow. My front-wheel drive got stuck, and after delivering the pizza and getting $1 tip, I had to ask the people for a shovel. 30 minutes later, they had a clean driveway, I had $1, a aching back, and my boss had a good few choice words for me. TLDR. Delivered in blizzard. Got stuck, shoveled a driveway for an hour, got $1 tip. Story 29. I delivered for about 4 years when I was in college in a decently affluent suburb of a major metropolitan area. Tips were generally decent for $19.99 to $2003, 25 hours most days. In those 4 years I saw a lot of weird. Hey race. 3 of them won the towel delivering a single pie at around 1 p.m. in the afternoon on a hot summer day. I pile into my 92 Geo Metro, nicknamed the Blue Teardrop, and speed off to my drop point at top speed 45 miles per hour. I pull up on a decent-sized ranch-style house with a garage door to the left of front door, which happens to be cracked open. I knocked and waited, then rang the doorbell and waited some more. I could hear music playing in the background. Some Kenny G bullshit played at metal volume all the way to 11. I knocked harder, pretty much banging on the big wooden door. As I turned to walk away, and as I'm just out of sight of the front door, I see a man in tidy white ease crawling under the garage door with clothes piled in his hand. I hear the door open and a stunning mid-30s housewife steps out in a white towel and her birthday suit and yells, "John, wait." I looked at the guy. Our eyes meet. I start laughing. He shakes his head and ducks back into the garage. I walk up to the lady, who is turning a new shade of red and cannot make eye contact. "Forgot about the pizza, I said while chuckling. She blushes even further, hands me a 50 bill and says, "Please, you weren't here, you didn't see anything, keep the change." "Not a problem, ma'am. Have a fun day." 38 tip for catching a panicked lover fleeing the scene, and nobody gets shot. Nice start to a day. TLDR. Hot housewife caught cheating by pizza delivery. She forgot about 2 dogwood. 1. As I said, most of our area was pretty affluent. Homes prices were around $250K to $750K for most of the delivery area. Except the dogwood. One fine fall day, I am up in the queue and see the address on the call-off screen, dogwood. I knew about the area but wasn't sure we delivered there. The boss said if they ordered it, and we made it, you're taking it. Besides, the teardrop is probably the only car light enough to make it over that bridge. Well, doodle-doo. I guess I'm taking this free new resident coupon pizza to Shantytown. I drive down the normal suburban streets to the Dogwood Trail, a cracked black asphalt street about 300 yards long, that ends with a dirt road trail that goes into the deep wood swamp. The sun is starting to set, and I have to admit the area looks like a still from an Ichabod Crane movie. I keep heading down the trail, and come upon a wooden bridge that looks like beavers made it, or it was constructed by 2 rednecks with some dead fallen hammers. I cautiously get over the bridge and into the dogwood proper. Most of the neighborhood is shacks, trailers, and lean-tos put up wherever they felt like it. I try to find 22 Dogwood Street, which is a fun exercise on a dirt trail with the light fading, no street signs, no addresses listed. As I'm stopped looking around, 2 dirt bikes pull up beside me on either side with 12 to 14 years olds on them. "What you doin', pizza boy?" sneered the kid on my left. "Looking for 22 dogwood. Any idea which one that is?" "Yeah, that's us. Give us the pizza." Figuring this is close enough since they aren't paying for it, so I'm not getting tipped. Best bonus is not even having to get out of the car. I handed the kid the pizza, and did a 22-point turn on the small dirt trail. As I turn around the right direction, an older man 40-ish with a rake comes out waving me down rather agitated. "You gave those little hoodlums my food. Give me my pizza," and he proceeded to smack the hood of my car with the rake. I figured it was a total loss on all accounts, yelled out "Call Papa John's next time," and sped around him at a whopping 15 miles per hour. Through the woods, I see the kids on dirt bikes pacing me and waving. I hit the pseudo bridge and nearly launched off of it to the other side. Whole event took about an hour on a Friday. Instead of my usual 25 hours, I made the minimum 5:15, and had some wicked rake damage on my previously pristine teardrop. TLDR 2 kids scam free pizza in the boonies, and redneck Randy hunts down the driver with a rake. 3 dogwood 2 bait another night a year later. I saw dogwood come up again, this time for a paying order. I try again to get out of it, and again have the choice of taking it or not working there anymore. Oh well, easiest 25-hour job ID had to date. I head out with the order, and decide since it is a long run, it will be a smoking run. Load up the new piece I got with some trees and have a nice powwow on the 35 minutes it takes to even get to the dogwood. As I come to the trail, I have a nice buzz, and I certainly care less about the lack of money I'm about to make. I drive over the bridge and proceed to the last house on the left as the address states. I'm at about a 6 and stop the car in front of a house that has not heard of the lawnmower being invented. I lean over and put the pipe back in the glove box, and as I sit up I hear "Freeze, don't move" being screamed right next to my window. I freak out, scream like a 5-year-old girl, and duck down in my car. I look up to see a SWAT officer looking in my passenger side briefly and then moving forward, gun drawn. I look back to my driver's side and a huge beast of a man in a SWAT vest screams, "Stay down, kid, stay down." All I can think of is this is it. I played around with marijuana and now my life is over. They found me. They tracked down me and my nickel bag of pot. I'm going to jail. 3 minutes that feel like eternity pass and I hear someone yelling out, "You pigs. I know my rights, you fat pieces of shit." I can't see anything out the windows but the trees, and am too damn terrified to lift my head. 2 more minutes pass and there is a knock at my passenger door. I raise my head to see a pregnant lady with a baby in her hands and tears down her cheek with a check in her hand. "Can you just give me our pizza?" she sobs. I rolled down the window and said 11.81 and grabbed the check, handed off the pie. She walks back into the shanty as I lift my head and look around. 4 squad cars are pulled in behind me, blocking off the 1-lane dirt trail to get to the house. I see them standing around a car with a big guy in a dirty tank top yelling in the back seat. One of them walks over to me and says, "That worked out perfect. He popped out as soon as he saw your little blue Domino's car." I just stared, still confused. Turns out they had been trying to catch this guy on a warrant for some time, and trailed in after me to the dogwood. I was bait, the pizza bait. TLDR got high delivering to Shantytown. Didn't notice the cops trailing me in, who arrested the guy I delivered to, nearly shat pants from paranoia. Several other funny weird happened, but I think this is long enough at this point and will be buried anyways. Ugh, this one time I had to deliver a pizza in 10 minutes, because it had been ordered 20 minutes ago and we give a 30-minute guarantee. I knew my boss would kill me if it was late, so I ignored all laws and most common sense on the way there, which unfortunately caught up with me when I got distracted by someone on a skateboard, and while I thought I was cutting through an alleyway shortcut, it was actually a driveway into a family's pool. Luckily the story has a happy ending because the girl on the skateboard was a courier and she offered to deliver the pizza for me. Got it there on time, if only just. Story 30. Back when I was 16, I once delivered a medium pizza with lots of cheese on it. This pizza was on par with any of the pizzas shown on the show Man vs. Food. The entity who asked for the Happy Meal diabetes to go pizza sounded like a unisex. That thing had a voice like none other. It was more mysterious to me than all of Scuba's adventures combined. I still to date do not know whether the entity who called me was a man or woman. After 30 minutes, I arrive at house. The house smelled like McDonald's and the person wasn't a person no more, and he was a fat piece of, really fat and smelled bad. I honestly couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. In the end, she wasted 10 minutes negotiating with me about the price, quantity of cheese, and how the pizza was small, in the blistering sun, and didn't even say thank you or gave me tip. He also spat a lot while speaking and smoked a really cheap and disgusting cigarette. After I returned back to the restaurant, the staff told me I smelled bad. It was a bad day for me. Edit more info added for the great Redditors who wish to know more. Story 31. I was at my place and was smoking hookah with a few friends. We decided to order pizza. When it finally arrived, a girl our age at college showed up. She kept looking past me while I was signing the check and at our hookahs in the living room. She made a comment about one and I asked if she would like to try. It was late, and she told me that I was her last delivery of that night, so she technically was free. She came in and smoked a bit. She was really nice and I tipped her pretty well. All in all, I hope it was one of her favorite deliveries. Story 32. During one of my early shifts, I took this delivery out all the way to the edge of our delivery range. Early shifts are usually really non-eventful, so it was about 2 p.m. and this was only my first delivery of the day, so I'm a little sour as I'm going upstairs trying to find this guy's apartment. so I get to his door and knock, and continue for about 5 minutes. As I'm about to give up, he finally comes to the door. It's this black or maybe mixed guy about my age, and he is out of breath and sweating, and I can see his erection through his athletic shorts. I fight back the resounding Jesus tap dancing Christ. That's on the tip of my tongue, and just tell him the total as I look toward the ceiling. I can also see into his living room where there is a laptop on the coffee table with a box of tissues next to it. Man, I don't really have enough money. Some friends were supposed to come over and split it with me, but they aren't here yet, so I roll my eyes at him and tell him to call the store when he manages to get the funds together. He asks me if he can still take the food. I laugh condescendingly and say no over my shoulder as I walk back toward the staircase. He calls again just as I make it back to the store and tells me that he has the money, so I go back out there, and by now I am pretty pissed at this. There is nothing more infuriating than having to go to someone's house twice because they are an idiot. So I get there and he opens up the door and hands me some cash. None of his friends are there though, whatever, I just want to get out of there, so I go to grab the cash out of his hand and I see a little glob on the back of his hand. I do a double take and take a quick step back and say, "Dude, is that?" He looks at his hand nonchalantly and proceeds to lick it off his hand. I gag immediately and walk away, food in hand without another word. He tried to call and complain, but once I told my manager the story, he lifetime banned the guy. I used to store manage a pizza shop in a rough part of the city. I had this driver on his first ever shift. He was on a delivery to house on a really rough street, and when he knocked on the door, the guy that answered the door knocked out the driver and took the pizza. Just the pizza, not the float. When he came to, drove back to the shop and parked up. He knocked the side mirror off a crackhead's car, got another beating, dropped off his float, car sign, and quit that night.